What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your daily creative reading for November 3rd. Oh my goodness, it's November already. What happened? The daily creative readings and other stuff on this channel have been kind of inconsistent, a little bit, for which, I want to say I apologize for the inconsistency. It's just that life is happening, and I found an apartment and I'm moving. So when this is released, I will be mid-move in the morning. Hopefully it's as sunny out as it is today. If not, though, you know what? Can't rain on my parade. Throw a raincoat on. Everyone dries. So, nonetheless, the perfect place, the perfect space. I couldn't have planned it better myself. That in spirit's all like, that's why we're here. So I had a moment, and I say this just because, communicating with guides and things like that has been extremely important through this process, especially navigating different apartment hunting adventures that I've been on, looking at different places. And just to say, like, don't underestimate the power of asking those guides and talking to them, right? I mean, I was having a moment where I was feeling kind of discouraged, and then I saw this place and I was like, okay, well, I'll message, it's fine. And so it started to unfold in this beautiful form and in this beautiful way. And I was having a moment. It was the day before I went to look at the place, and I was reading Ask Your Guides by Sonia Choquette. And literally the chapter that I had opened to, because I was exhausted, but I was like, I'm going to read before bed just to help my mind breathe. And I do read when I'm before sleep, other times. But anyways, so I was reading through, and that chapter talked about how she was trying to find an apartment in Paris. And it was like down to the last 48 hours and, finding the place and just feeling led and called. And it reached a point where, funnily enough, I was just like, no, I can stop looking after I'd seen this place. And I'm 2 minutes into a video about tarot, but I'm sharing this story because I just want to leave people with that your guides know best. And sometimes the things that pull don't make sense, but the point is not to make sense of them. The point is to lean into them because of who you're going to become through it. And I know through this process, I've already been understanding things about my own personal strength that I didn't, I don't want to say know before, but just that I didn't recognize within myself, right? Because it's like but all of this to say, I will be kind of intermittently posting for the next little bit, and things may change on here too as the space that I'm in changes, and as I continue to change in a space that's really healthy and my own and all of that. So so I'm really excited to start doing videos there so you can see some of it. I'm obviously not going to spill anyone's tea because I have a roommate there, so there's just that caution too. But I wanted to do a video today to honor the last, I guess, full 24 hours, less than that now, in the space where all of this video and these videos in this channel started. So let's dive in. Let's see. It's big shoes to fill, but so serendipity, yeah, big time, right? Big time. All about those wonderful, wonderful surprises and delights as well. So serendipity, regeneration. This is so eclipse energy, isn't it? Oh, there's a phrase that's going through my mind right now that's like rise like the whole damn fire, right? And then thinker, some air energy as well. I think that the call here is not to overthink. Don't overthink your actions yourself. I think that when you don't overthink, but I also think, anyways, when you get into a place of questioning your own motives and digging into that in a way that may not be necessarily healthy, or supportive of yourself, let's put it that way, because overthinking can really work against what's best for you. It can really work against what you need because you're trying to protect yourself, but maybe the point that you need to know about whatever situation you're in is not to protect yourself. Maybe the point is to understand something about yourself that you didn't know before, right? Just like similar to what I'm going through now. But that's not the point of it all, but there's lessons that you can take from it. But I feel here like this is it's such a beautiful, like this, it's almost like, I don't know, it's very, very scorpionic energy, the regeneration card here. It pulls at this sort of, this sensual reminder, and not sensual as in like sexually speaking. This is like sensual as in like embodied, right? The senses engaged fully. seeing things completely and fully, and seeing things not just for their potential, but for the growth that's happening beneath the surface, in terms of like what you can't see. How do you navigate when you can't see the full path ahead and you just have like next step, next step, next step? That's where this regeneration is coming from for me, because it's almost like power. Like there's so much power in what's being broken apart, or what's being challenged or tested right now. And tested not in the sense of like, let's sit behind a desk and reduce ourselves to the test itself. No, the lessons that you're going through, right? I know that a lot of people have been experiencing this, even people who don't necessarily believe in astrology, which is really funny to me to hear them talk about their experiences this eclipse season. And yeah, so it's just amusing to me. But anyways, let's get this spread going here. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives? The Magician. Yeah. And you know what's so beautiful about this energy too is that we have everything we need within us, number one. Number two, the realization of these dreams, as it were, if we want to call them that, the realization of them is not in their manifestation. The realization is who you become on the way to them, who you become and how you become, right? How you become, which is this regeneration. There's like an elemental force, not just to this energy, but within you. Ace of Cups. That's the call to adventure. But also, interestingly, the refusal. And I'm feeling like there's some kind of, it's coming across as like a little bit, like, I want to say codependency, like prioritizing how many other things than the cup that's within you, right? So that's part of this refusal. And refusal, not saying like, forget that. It's not that. The refusal is more so about the things that get in the way of your realization of, you know, what you have within you to answer this call. Because I feel like the call to adventure is everything that it's almost like challenging what you know to be true about yourself, right? This is Gemini energy, which is Mercury, and Mercury's different iterations through Virgo and Gemini can be, you know, they can have different intonations to them, right? What I'm getting here is this sort of like moving away from data analysis to communicative energy, right? So communicative just meaning taking the things that you've observed and putting them into some, like allowing them to express in some way that is a more concrete form, still fluid, right? We have the Ace of Cups, which tells me there's like some water energy, which is true of Scorpio season in general, but there's like a fluidity to this, and it's allowing flow too. If you see the picture here, it's like allowing flow. And this Ace of Cups is such an interesting refusal, because it could also just be, you know, the vows that we make. I am never going to allow these kinds of relationships to be this way again. I am going to do only this from now out, now onwards, now forwards for myself, because I love myself completely, right? Six of Pentacles. I feel like this is like, I just heard this. I don't know this song, but the song title "Don't Fear the Reaper" came to mind, and I feel like it's almost like the Reaper, just in terms of this regeneration, right? Like there's forces at work that we don't know about, right? That we truly do not know about, and I almost feel like there's so much good on the other side of this energy, but there's like this refusal of like fearing the balance, because it's almost like maybe you're just going to be left with your own cup. And that's like, it's almost like an important cleansing, right? Like it's an important clearing process, because it brings you back into balance. And maybe that's a scary thing. Maybe it's a scary thing. It doesn't have to be. I say scary just because, you know, I think about the kids that come into work and they're like, that's really scary. I was so afraid. And they get worked up, but they're expressing such a temporary state, and they almost know this, right? It's so interesting to me. It's so interesting. Okay. Spirit, can you tell me a little bit more about this tower? What could become a tower today and in this energy if it goes unchecked? The Ten of Pentacles. Oh, just super casually, your happiness. No. That's really beautiful, actually. It's almost like doubt. Like these are really great cards, but it's like if you doubt, you will create, you will manifest, you will, you know, bring to life the things that you fear. So it's almost like the flip sides of these. The thing that could become a tower if it goes unchecked is where you're investing your energy, because there's the Ten of Pentacles that you want, but then there's the Ten of Pentacles that you've been doing, right? And the 10 of Pentacles that you've been doing may not be generating a 10 of Pentacles, which is deeply frustrating because it might be generating just basic balance. It could be generating something less than that, maybe a 5 of Pentacles. 10-10 was just on the time, but actually 10-10-10 with this 10 of Pentacles. But the truth of this 10 of Pentacles here is this sort of coming together. You may be coming into, you may be, there may be community that you're coming into. Yeah. I think that this could become a tower if it goes unchecked, where your investments are not, you're kind of out of alignment with where your energy is being invested. So you want, and it's not about just, I want the 10, so I have to invest like a 10. No, it's not about that energy at all to me. It's about this ace. This is, they're, because when we do this clarifier, they all clarify one another vertically, right? So the Ace of Cups is in a sort of clarification and conversation with this 10 of Pentacles, which tells me that there's something about prioritizing you. And I'm almost seeing Aries energy on this. Yeah, there's Scorpio. There's Death on the bottom. I lost my train of thought. Thank you, Spirit. Okay, so if you're investing your energy in things outside of you and expecting a 10 of Pentacles to just show up, the work of the Ace of Cups is not just about an offering from the universe, regarding others. This is an inward focused card. The position of this person as well is a vulnerable, like that's so vulnerable. It's like they say when cats, this is so when cats show their belly, it's like such a vulnerable thing. Like for me, that's my back. So if someone comes up behind me, that like I it's like knowing me in a really close way in order for me to feel safe with them doing that, right? Not like some jumpiness or anything like that, but there's just something to that. So I feel like think about this as a vulnerable position in so much as you're almost like getting into a place of intimacy with self, but what this allows for is intimacy with others. But it's so interesting that that's part of the refusal. Maybe you weren't doing this. The 10 of Pentacles is also, I see it as like a legacy card. And I think if you focus too much on legacy right now, maybe you need to focus and just lean into the transformation. Maybe you need to lean in to the falling apart of things. This is your protagonist position in this hero's journey spread, right? Maybe this is the protagonist energy for sure, especially with regeneration, right? Like this, you have to let stuff fall away. Look at what's blooming, right? You can't see the tree in its full depth and splendor. You can only see the tree as it's starting to sprout because the things that are building this back up and creating such a rich foundation in the soil, balancing out the pH, creating a perfect balance of nutrients, right? I was watching a documentary with my granny once, and I think it was Hawaii or some kind of Pacific Islands, something along those lines, where there's a specific spider that is only found in this one area because of the volcanic, activity and the specific balance that it creates, right? So it's just so interesting. But these specificities for the growth and the next steps that we take that are required, right? And the specificities not of our action, but of our recognition of what can be, so that we can then lean into the letting go of things, right? I've told folks, when in the moving process, I've, seeing things as like, well, I'm, leaving different places with less than I came, right? But this is also, do we see it that way, or do we see it as an opportunity to simplify our lives, right? Do we see it as an opportunity to simplify? Because I know everything is pretty much packed. I had about 4 days to do it, which is like record timing, but I got all my steps in. That's 14 on the time. But do we see, I'm going through books that I haven't read in a really long time and either giving them away, selling them, or doing whatever, right? So it's asking yourself those questions of, how am I seeing this? Am I seeing this for the what broke away, what fell away? Or am I seeing this for the growth that's to come through the eyes, not of potential, because I don't like the idea of falling in love with potential, but seeing the possibility of where you are? That's the magician written all over it. So what's the antagonist energy here, Spirit? I feel like it's going to be like, it feels like a 4 of Cups of some kind. Ooh, 9 of Wands. Yeah. If you hang on to things that you need to let go of, and don't lean into the change. The wheel was on the things you can't see coming. Yeah, it's the changes. Oh, the lovers too. More Gemini energy. Dang. Okay. The deck is really loud. All right. There's good stuff coming in that you can't see, but it's all preceded. So you have the lovers, then you have the Five of Wands, which is some conflict, but I see this as more trying to navigate your understanding of self and what's important to you, right? Your priorities, making sure they're not in conflict. Then you have the Hierophant. So there's some, I think this is sort of, it's almost like higher unlearning, because then you have the World and the Five of Cups, the Ace of Swords. Like, this is connecting to your truth, right? Three of Swords, Nine of Pentacles. Need I go on? Because it's just like, that's all these good things that follow leaning into the change, right? I'm going to put that here. And I think that if you neglect the power that you have to assist the wheel in its turning through your choices, right? I feel like what it's going to do is it almost limits your capacity to lean in to the scorpionic energy of the Death card, right? And to really, we say like, just lean into the transformation, and you're like, but it really feels like everything around me is dying and I'm crying and I don't understand. Like, it can be stressful, but sometimes it's good to just take a step back and be like, wow, how am I going to see this in a year? You know, I've been driving to and from work as I do. And, you know, thinking to myself, how is this drive going to look in a year? What happens if I don't even have to do this drive in a year? How else might things change, right? There's the Tower on the bottom. How else might things change? How else might I grow? How else might these things shift? And that's, I feel like, the important energy to be in, because that's sort of the positive side of the Death card. And that's why I put this tower, you know, things that could become a tower if they go unchecked. That's why I wanted that in this spread, was because it was kind of, it's not about stepping out of the way of something. It's not about stepping out of the way of that. It's not, and it's not about dodging a tower, because sometimes things need to change and we don't know how to change them. We don't know where to start. That's where the Death card comes in, because we recognize what one layer doesn't work. Okay, so then we shed that layer. Then we shed another layer and another and another and another. And then we realize that it might have been a slow burn tower, but it still came down as it needed to, right? Not all towers come crashing down with like lightning, thunder, and this grandiosity. Sometimes it just falls apart. And we do it piece by piece by leaning into this energy. And that's where I feel like maybe it's your best friend right now. But it is significant change, and I'm hearing brace yourself. Not in a bad way. Don't think of it as like, it's not like that. It's more so like, brace yourself for how good it could be on the other side of these things, right? Brace yourself for the wonder and the awe and the moments of gratitude, tearful gratitude, more than what you might have been moving out of or through before, right? So it's really about perspective shifts. Two of Swords, yeah, perspective shifts. It's like seeing things differently, not to necessarily be able to make a decision, but I think to do a little bit of healing and moving away from worry. Nine of Swords. What's the main challenge here, Spirit? Nine of Swords. Okay. So it is worry. But I mean, honestly, any change, we can worry about it. Or we can, there's no binary. I think it's important to just let yourself worry. Let yourself be in the mess. Let yourself feel like you have no answer or idea or clue. Because what that is it's almost like, and this is true for what I've been experiencing too, right? It's realigning your ego. And I've thought before that, you know, they talk about spiritual awakenings and Kundalini rising and that pop. And I had that pop in my lower back. Like this was quite a few years ago now. But what I've been thinking recently is that pop may just be, this is going to sound crude, but that's fine. It's like your head dislodging from, you know, your from your backside. Like you're starting to see things more clearly, and including yourself, right? And I think sometimes you have to worry it's not productive when you sit in it for hours at a time. But worry is a great teacher because it teaches you about your priorities. It teaches you about what you're prioritizing. Are you prioritizing yourself? Are you prioritizing the cup that's within you and that you are? Or are you prioritizing an even exchange? Are you prioritizing giving over receptivity or receiving? Are you limiting your capacity? Like, what are you worrying about, right? That can show you a lot. And the worry usually doesn't manifest into what you're fearing. Worry doesn't automatically mean that something bad is going to happen. That's why it's in the challenge and not the tower if it goes unchecked, right? I mean, it can be, it can be a tower, because if we worry, we also don't live. If we spend so much time worrying, we it almost becomes an anxiety that serves the purpose of, and this is where Louise Hay talked a lot about releasing the need. Sometimes worry becomes a need, and perhaps it's like you need the worry because that's the only way you know to trust yourself. But you can trust yourself because this death card it reflects a shedding that is not, it's not that it's no small thing. It's not just that. The death card indicates here that it's kind of your best friend right now, is this releasing. And among those things, maybe releasing the need to worry, because there's like, what if everything just turned out okay? And then what if you realize that because it's okay, it's actually great, right? What if everything is happening exactly as it needs to be? What if the goals that you had for yourself at different times, for where you are, I said through some of this process, and I'm kind of spilling my own tea, but that's fine. If somebody learns from it, then great. But, it's almost like dislodging your ego a little bit, because these things are kind of rocking your foundation such that the things that you associated with what you thought you should be doing at a specific time, at a specific point in your life, it's like that stuff falls away for a reason. And you can look at other people and say, well, that's not happening to them, not in public, not openly, not that they're sharing, but there's changes and significant shifts going on in everyone's life at every time, every point in time. Some people just don't wear it the same as others. Also, other people don't talk about it. Some people are sleeping through it, right? So it's just it's like that quote, like, people are fighting battles we know nothing about. I don't like the idea of focusing so much on the battles. I think about the fact that people are shifting and changing in ways that we can't see all the time. And that's something so beautiful. I see that as this here, right? That's the magician energy. And I think the call to adventure is seeing that magician capacity where you may have seen, it's almost like, look at how much good surrounds this magician card when you're flowing freely 2-2-2-2 on the time. This could be it is possibly new, right? Portals of new. That's what eclipse season does. But look at the abundance. This reflects such abundance coming from within, right? When you're in alignment and allowing the flow. And allowing the flow just means getting out of your own way with assumptions, expectations, thoughts about what should happen, worry, all of that stuff. Right? It's allowing the surprise to meet you on the path, as opposed to feeling like you have to know how everything's going to happen, right? So it's like, look at the abundance, and then look at this is like, I think of this, Abraham Hicks terms, the crack of least resistance. Look at how small that is compared to this abundant energy. There's only so much good that can come through your worry, because your worry will always and consistently place you at the behest of something outside of you, as opposed to knowing your own strength. And that's where this is really starting to come together here. So what's the overcoming? I feel like I just told the story of the overcoming. I mean, moving away from that shit. That's Six of Swords. Two of Swords. I feel like going within. Yeah, it's this consciousness bridging energy. Wow. And justice. Judgment. Yeah. I see the muse energy as the bridging of consciousness, moving from one place to another. So it's almost like you go from this sort of indecision place, this needing to go within to understand out without, right? And you bridge that, you take that. And this is what's really interesting, is that this is a sort of this is pentacular energy. And what this energy represents to me is environment. This is your context. This is where you are emplaced, right? These are the values, the things that you hold dear to you. 10 of Pentacles, right? Things that could become a tower if it goes unchecked. The good news is that you bridge so that it doesn't necessarily become a tower that that's outside of your control. And it's not to maintain control of the tower. It's to step into the embodiment of letting go of what needs to go, so that what is meant for you in your life can step forward. I think about even just bookshelves. Okay. So I'm not getting rid of books to get more books. That's not the point. Because I've been doing more reading on my e-reader and buying more books digitally. So it just takes up less space, but there's more space for other things, right? The expansiveness that allows when you have less stuff. That is also an emotional energy as well. But nonetheless, I feel that when you step into this consciousness of being curious, this is, bridging energy to me can represent curiosity. It can represent wonder at where you are, gratitude, wondering why something is happening and how something might be happening, but not getting into the place of worry about it. Just being like, what does this mean? What's the possibility here? Right? And then it's like you step into this judgment energy where I don't think it's a decision, but it's like recognizing your infinity, recognizing your infinitude, and that changes everything. And what I love about this card is the fact that I feel like the sort of the shoulders up depiction without clothing represents to me the ultimate vulnerability in a process of shedding, in a process of change, in a process of decision, and all of that. So I feel like that's kind of where you're at. And I feel like that's your overcoming. It's not just your ability to decide, but it's your ability to be changed by spirit. It's your ability to be in communion with the divine. It's part of your sort of, I want to say birthright, but it's like there's something about this here where it's like you were born for this, but more than this being a specific thing that you do, you were born for this awareness of your power. You were born to stand out, not in a way that is standing, not in a way that's commanding. I mean, maybe that's a positive thing, right? But this is an energy of remembering who you are. And that's your overcoming, is remembering who you are. And I feel like this Ace of Cups is spirit giving you invitation after invitation after invitation through whatever circumstances you're going through to remember who you are. And it's about seeing it that way. See it that way. Don't see it through the eyes of struggle. Don't see it through the eyes of burden, because this is a power too. But this can also turn very easily and quickly into a power struggle. Right? Where you're like, so this is reminding me of that biblical, it's like a prayer, like, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. This is almost like, that's like the mantra that you repeated to yourself to get through this valley. But you don't need to do that anymore, because there's a change afoot where it's like you have the capacity and the ability to really let go of that dense, heavy energy and that consciousness, because it's a consciousness raising. And that's what I feel like you're raising, this consciousness. You're raising the consciousness of yourself, possibly people around you. Sometimes it happens like a domino effect like that, right? Four of Wands is what you're waking up to. So this is like what it is that you're waking up to on the journey. And I think perhaps that you're not alone. I almost get this Four of Wands as like pillars of community on the one hand, but also this can represent I think a sense of connectivity with other people, community, communion. I think this is your guides that provide stability. Four of Wands, right? This is the Four of Inspiration. I feel like this is a sort of stability of inspiration, a stability of presence, and how you're showing up. And I feel like it's almost like a stability of your consciousness. Like, I think about it as like these waves, right? Like it's like coming in waves right now that I'm seeing it. And it's just like this stabilizing of it. So there's no more like up and down, sideways, all over the place. It's just a stabilization of it. Not in a way that represents stagnancy, but in a way that represents peace for you. What's the main lesson and theme that we're taking out of this here, Spirit? I feel like I should just title this like Eclipse Season, a memoir, because so many people are going through changes, and it's like delightful changes, but it's changes nonetheless. Ooh, the Nine of Cups, eh? Look at you, so fancy. Nine of Cups is, I think this is that peace, right? This is the peace that comes from within, not from without. And it really, it's like wishes fulfilled. But the interesting part is that it's almost like these are representative of worlds of wishes, right? I almost see these as being like each diamond represents a connection point, and a part, it's like turning hardship, like the struggle, into diamonds, right? Like the pressure to diamonds. And that's what I feel like is happening here, where it's like, it's not turning something into diamonds or gold to then give to other people. It's recognizing these elemental, I guess, gems within you, recognizing these things within you. And also the way that they catch the light. Have you considered that the ways that the light catches the diamonds within you reflects light out of your eyes, reflects light out through your smile? Those things, these ways that you express happiness and joy in an elevated consciousness are the light refracting through your soul and then emerging like we see with these diamonds or crystals in windows where they cast rainbows on backgrounds and things like that. Like those, that's what if that process, this whole eclipse season, this whole ass eclipse season is an invitation for you to do that for you, right? It's almost like this sort of like the full spectrum of light within you. And I feel like that's sort of what you're alchemizing right now, is the awareness of that. And then this is sort of the post eclipse or post alchemization process where it's just peace. There's just this depth of peace. And what greater wish fulfillment is there than that? You can put as many things on a vision board as you want. And as much, so Louise Hay would often say that there's like a lot of our negative beliefs about ourselves amount to two things: not being enough and that we're just bad people, right? Those two things. And what if it amounts to something like all the stuff that we want on a vision board we want because we feel it's going to bring us peace, right? So, and this is where Danielle Laporte talked about this with the desire map, is like finding the feelings and going towards them. Abraham Hicks talked about it too. So it's like, it's almost like this transmutation process. And you need to trust your emotions as well, because I feel like in order to understand peace as a wish fulfilled, you have to understand your emotions such that you don't run from them, that you sit with them, right? I know I've been like a hot mess in terms of like crying sometimes and things like that as I've been going through this process, and just befriending those parts of you that need to emerge, because not only are they connected to tears and releasing in your heart center, they're also related to your throat center too, right? They're also related to your throat because it's your capacity to express your feelings. It's your capacity to express your emotions. And that's an expression. It's not about telling people all the time. It's not about expressing your truth. Sometimes it's allowing yourself to just feel, right? I will never forget that, and this visual is so poignant to this day. Sonia Shook had talked about the heart center as being like a chimney stack for the throat. And that is just it's so visceral, because all of the things that can sit in your heart center and just burn and eat away at you then become this sort of energy that can get super duper stuck in your throat center. So emotions, to me, and the thing that I've been learning, my fellow Aquarians, we often get accused of being disconnected emotionally, but I find that to be, I think, a lot the opposite for a lot of the Aquarians I know. But it's about leaning into the emotions so that you feel them, not just to get rid of them, but to befriend the part of you that may have been told that feeling wasn't okay, to befriend the part of you that uses excuses or justifications so you don't feel, and you inevitably hold this Ace of Cups outside of yourself instead of, and it's because it's outside of you, right? Mike Dooley, the other day for one of his spiritual tune-ups in the morning, I think it was the morning. Anyway, I watched it in the morning, but he talked about how we envision ourselves as whole and complete to the extent, and sometimes for the purpose of, other people seeing us that way so that they validate that, but we have yet to really see ourselves and feel ourselves as whole and complete on our own. And that is a really important process to go through, because it's not just about saying I'm whole and complete just as I am, because we are. It's also about understanding that, it's understanding what that means outside of the gaze of other people, understanding what that means outside of the gaze of a potential partner or friends or family. 3-3-3-3 on the time. But that's where this, like, it's not just an affirmation. Do the affirmation, yes, but understanding too that underpinning all of this is like, you just deserve it. You just deserve good. You deserve light. You deserve love. That I keep, people say takes your breath away, and maybe, but what if it gives you breath? What if it gives you, right? And that's sort of flipping the receptivity script so that you're receiving instead of giving. All the time, I should say, overgiving. But I'm just going to clarify very briefly, because I do have to get to an appointment. Woo, there's the tower. Yeah. I feel like there's such beautiful change, but the key is just staying pulled back enough to observe and not absorb where you are, so that you can celebrate the change for what it is. And that's where serendipity starts to come in, right? That's where serendipity and miracles happen, because those shifts are now possible because you're not anchored into truths that no longer serve you. Yeah, truths that no longer serve you, my friends. Three of Swords. Page of Cups. I almost feel like that's kind of how the light gets in a little bit, right? Like you may feel like a small fish in a big pond, but the point isn't to feel like this sense of mastery right now. I think the point is to sink into your emotions and not to sort of try and escape or run. It's to sit with them. And that may be what the Tower is, right? Like that may be the Tower, because your emotions are communicating to you all the time about your experience. But we sometimes feel that emotions indicate how we should feel about other people and things and whatnot, instead of understanding that they are a lesson for us about our own foundation. Queen of Cups. Yeah. I feel like not only whatever this process is or things you're going through, it's not just making you more emotionally intelligent and aware. I think that this is also giving you a sense of grace and compassion for yourself. I think that's quite inwardly directed. And I think too that when we focus that inwards, what that allows for us to do is to then give that to others in a completely different way than what we'd been doing before. Not to suggest that what we were doing before wasn't actually giving from that authentic place, but it changes the it's like you can hear the symphony of grace and compassion. You can hear the symphony of it as opposed to hearing individual notes every now and again. And you understand it from a place of appreciation and gratitude as opposed to a place of, well, I guess I can do this. Like it's that sort of energy that flows more freely, which is apropos of the Queen of Cups. I welcome miracles into my life. Be open to miracles today. You will experience a miracle each time you decide to let life love you a little bit more than before. And I'll pull from the miracles now, because why not? I welcome miracles, and we're going to get a miracle now. Oh, the dad jokes. That was a really bad one, too. I don't even know. Okay. When I feel blocked, emotionally distressed, or overwhelmed, I turn to my breath. I can find peace in every breath. Oh, so I guess meditation is quite important. I've been pulling into that state more and more and doing more mindful breathing and things like that, as opposed to thinking so much. Because, thoughts can only take us so far when we're in uncharted territory, because a lot of what we think, as we know from A Course in Miracles, is based on past events and happenings, right? It's all past. It's all history. So how can we really say that we're thinking original thoughts about something if we're not mindful first, if we're not turning to our breath first? Because that's sort of what lays the foundation for the new, because that's where we get ideas. That's where we get thoughts that pop in. And that pop in from a more loving place. So this is where I'm going to leave it here, my darling daily creatives. I will see you in the next couple of days as I unpack, and it will be in my new space. I'm very excited, super excited. So I wish you a wonderful couple days, and I will catch you on the flip side of the new space. So thank you so much for making the ride here through this space. So wonderful. And like I said, I just wanted to do this little spread as a celebration of obviously trying to stay consistent as possible, but also just to say thank you too, because this was where it really kind of all started. So we're moving on. We're moving up, friends. So may you have the kind of week so far that reminds you that you are moving up and onwards in ways that make your heart absolutely sing. So take care, my lovelies. And as always, wherever this finds you on the time and space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope it finds you very, very well. Take care.